Hi everyone! Today's episode is about everything you wanted to know about the violin but were afraid to ask. I've piled up a list of 30 questions about the violin that, as a violinist, I have been asked throughout the years by friends, family, people I just met. I'm sure many of you have faced similar situations. I'd like to ask you to watch and listen closely and in the comments add questions I might have missed and answers that you would have given. So let's get started. So our first question is, what is a violin made of? Violins are usually made from different types of wood, including spruce for the top, maple for the back, ribs and neck, and ebony for the fingerboard. Our second question is, who is the most famous violin maker? Antonio Stradivari, of course. Next question is, what is the difference between a violin and viola? Well, the viola is the violin's big bro, a bit larger with a richer and deeper voice, but strictly staying in the string family. Our fourth question is, who is considered the greatest violinist of all time? Well, that's really a tough one. It's like picking a favorite pizza topping. You love them all. I'll go for Niccolo Paganini and add Jascha Heifetz, David Oistrakh, Michael Rabin, Itzhak Perlman. It's really subjective. Our fifth question is, what is a violin bow made of? Well, they're usually made from Pernambuco wood or Brazil wood. Today, synthetic materials are also commonly used, and we mustn't forget horsehair. Our sixth question is, what's the sticky stuff violinists apply on the bow? Oh, well, it's rosin. Rosin is used on the bow hairs to create friction with the violin strings, which helps produce sound. So next up, what are the four strings on the violin? Well, if we go from lowest to highest, the strings are G, D, A, and E. Okay, next one. How often should violin strings be replaced? Well, professional violinists might replace their strings every 3 to 6 months, but amateur violinists can often go 6 months to a year. It depends how much you play. Okay, so this one is an important one. How much does a good beginner violin cost? Well, there's no correct answer to this one, but I'll go for a good violin that can cost between $100 and $400. Question number 10. What's the difference between a fiddle and a violin? Well, they're essentially the same instrument. The term fiddle is often used to refer to a violin when it's being used to play folk or country music. Next up, how do you tune a violin? Tuning a violin is a bit like climbing a mountain. It requires patience, precision, and sometimes a guide. You adjust the pegs and fine-tuners, comparing the pitch to a tuning fork, piano, or an electronic tuner. Question number 12, who invented the violin? Well, the origins of the violin go way back, but the violin as we know it today was first developed in Italy in the 16th century, with Andrea Amati being one of the earliest known violin makers. Question number 13, why are Stradivari violins so special? Well, they're old, they're rare, and they sound like a dream. All violinists would love to own one. Next question is an interesting one. Can you play a violin left-handed? Well, yes you can, but it's less common and may require a specially designed violin and bow. What's important is that you can still be left-handed, as I am, and play it in the traditional way. Oh, I always love this question. Why do violinists shake their hand when they play? Well, we're not shivering. It's called vibrato. It's a technique used to create a singing, warm, and richer sound. Our next question is, who are some famous contemporary violinists? Well, this is a tough one, like the one with who's considered the greatest violinist of all times. I'll go now for Joshua Bell, Hilary Hahn, Ray Chen, Anne-Sophie Mutter, to name a few. I'm sure you will add more. Question number 17. What's that little thing on the violin where you put your chin? Well, it's called a chin rest, and it gives you that extra support to hold the violin. It's a bit like a pillow, but for your face. Next question is, how long does it take to become proficient at the violin? That depends. Like any skill, it takes time and practice, generally several years. Next question, how does a violin produce sound? When the bow is drawn across the strings, it causes them to vibrate. These vibrations are transmitted to the body of the violin, which resonates and amplifies the sound. Oh, love this question. What is spiccato? Well, spiccato is a bowing technique where you bounce the bow lightly on the strings, creating a short, distinct sound. It's like the violin is happily skipping. Oh, love this one too. What does pizzicato mean? First of all, it's not a pizza. Pizzicato is a playing technique where the strings are plucked with the fingers instead of being played with the bow. Okay, so this question is always a bit difficult to answer. How are different pitches produced on a violin? Well, different pitches are produced by pressing the strings down at different points along the fingerboard. The shorter the vibrating portion of the string, the higher the pitch. So this is a common one. What are the sizes of violins? Well, violins are like shoes. They come in various sizes to accommodate players of different ages and sizes. Question number 24, how do you clean a violin? To clean a violin, simply use a dry cloth to remove rosin dust. There are also specific violin cleaners for a more thorough cleaning. Please, just no dishwashers. Next question, what does it mean when a violin is out of tune? Well, first of all, it means that you don't want to listen to it. Well, I would say it's like a bird who's lost its song. Technically, it means the pitch of its strings doesn't match the standard pitch. I do think this is the most common question I have been asked. At what age did you start playing the violin? What is the best age to start? I started at 6, but any time is great to start. Age is just a number. Next question, how important is regular practice when learning the violin? Well, regular practice is essential when learning the violin. It helps to build muscle, memory, improve technique, and develop a good ear for pitch and tone. So it's like brushing your teeth. It's a must-do. Okay, next one, how should a violin be stored when not in use? A violin should be stored in its case, ideally in a room with stable humidity and temperature. It needs to be comfy so that your cat will also want to sleep inside. Next up, what is the most difficult piece written for the violin? Every violinist may give a different answer, but I'll go for Bach's Chaconne for solo violin. And our last question, who composed the 4 Seasons? Antonio Vivaldi, of course. There we go. We've answered 30 questions about the violin. Did I miss some out? Would you answer them differently? Drop your questions and challenge me in the comments below. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Until next time, bye-bye.